hadn't even had a chance to process the Thursday night game before this. I'm mad about OJ Howard's injury, but yo, Dak Prescott's injury hurt everybody in Black America. Man, I ain't doing this shit, man. Man, fuck the Cowboys, I'm rooting for Dak! Alright, now I'm calm. What's up, everybody? My name is Advance, and this is Advanced Sports Talk. So, injury to Dak Prescott was very big. And it's sad because Dak was like the talk of the offseason, second only to Tom Brady. But, the big issue was that, Dak wanted to work out a long-term deal. It wasn't fair because, Jerry Jones made it work for Zeke. Even though Zeke sat out most of last year and then came back and wasn't quite as dynamic as he used to be. But whatever. And and they want to make Dak jump through all of these hoops and everything. Now granted, I would use the same argument with Dak that I would use against Tony Romo. Like, he didn't take you to a Super Bowl, but he definitely got you to the playoffs. So don't give him $150 million, but yeah, you should at least have guaranteed him some security, But in any case, let's get into this football breakdown. So, starting off in the proper order, because the Bucs played Thursday night. So, Buccaneers versus the Chicago Bears. This started out good for the Bucs. They jumped up 10-0, but in the first quarter, it was a very bad second quarter play. It's almost like the Bucs had forgotten themselves. And this has been a thing. This has been a long going thing, like going all the way back to 2008. Like whenever the Bucs would get into prime time, like they would be a stellar team off camera, but when they get into prime time, when America's watching them, for whatever reason, they just buckle. Now we have won our fair share of primetime games, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. I don't think we haven't had a Sunday night game. We haven't had a Sunday night game in a minute. But that's beside the point. So they jumped up 10-0. It was a very bad second quarter that led to the Bears scoring 2 back-to-back touchdowns, with us only managing to score a field goal. With that, going into the half, coming out of the locker room, because we had the ball first, Bears had the ball, defense manages to stop, we get the ball back, and we're driving down the field, and then that's when the penalties started happening. And there's certain penalties that are excusable, like if Khalil Mack beats you and he's about to flatten your quarterback, yeah, go ahead and hook him in the arm. By the way, I'm gonna give props to Khalil Mack because he did a very devastating hip toss to Tristan Wirfs. While that was very embarrassing to see that happen, I know that Khalil Mack, after he retires, has a very promising career in the WWE. WWF. It sounds better. So the penalties started happening. And on this particular drive, it was kicked off with Ryan Jensen, who, for whatever reason, decided that he wanted to jump up, and they called it a headbutt, but he pretty much just jumped up and got in the guy's face, but because his helmet touched the other guy's helmet, they called it a headbutt, and he did it with such ferocity, that they threw the flag. It was a stupid penalty. Apparently he thought somebody had kicked him, but really it was his own man that ran into him. That penalty basically took what was I think it was like a short third down. It ended up being third and 42 or second and 42 or something. There was a late hit on the quarterback, which was negated by holding. So basically, we had to chalk this drive up as an L. And Brady let him have it. He was cussing them out. Like, I think he was mainly cussing more at Jensen because of the penalty. That was the penalty that pretty much kicked the whole thing off. It was just bad. Like, they tried to pull it together for the rest of the game, but unfortunately, we just couldn't get right. Potential scoring drives just kept turning into field goals. While field goals are good, we need touchdowns. We have way too much talent to not be scoring touchdowns. I understand it's the Bears defense, but yeah, like, nah. We showed we could move the ball. The Bears ended up winning 20-19. Moral victory is that it was only 1 point, but whether we was by an inch or by a mile, we still lost. Moving on to the rest of the league, I'm gonna stay in the NFC South. So Carolina versus the Atlanta Falcons. And man, Teddy Bridgewater threw for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mike Davis still proving that he can stand in for Christian McCaffrey. I don't think Christian McCaffrey gonna have a job when he come back. I don't know. We'll see. DJ Moore almost got 100 yards receiving. Calvin Ridley continues to stand out for the Falcons. Ty Gurley had over 100 yards rushing. And Matt Ryan threw for 200 yards and no touchdowns and 1 interception. And Carolina beat them 23-16. As bad as our loss was, I'm actually glad I'm not the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons fired Dan Quinn. I found out Monday. I can't remember if they fired him after the game or whether they waited till Monday. But Dan Quinn has been relieved of his duties. And Raheem Morris was listed as the interim head coach. Now, if you look at the Falcons' stats, you know that their offensive stats was there. So you can only assume that the Falcons was losing games because of they were losing games because the defense was allowing too many points. And eventually they would be ahead in these games. And then they would just blow the lead. So these weren't games that they were behind. Well, no, this game was actually the only one where they fell behind early and they just couldn't catch up. But yeah, so Arthur Blank pretty much looked down and was like, look, man, fuck out of here. And see, and I have been saying this for years. Anybody that knows me, knows that I have been saying for years, I was like, look, I have a feeling Raheem Morris is going to take that team over because he was the assistant head coach. He worked his way up from defensive backs coach. No, wide receivers coach. He was defensive backs coach in Washington. He worked his way up from wide receivers coach to assistant head coach, and now to defensive coordinator, and now he's the head coach. So if you fired a guy because your team was giving up too many points, what sense does it make to hire the defensive coordinator? Now, I like Raheem Morris, but I don't know. So that pretty much tells me that I guess he had Dan Quinn had more control over the defense, I guess. But in any case, So I already know that he's coming for us. He's coming for the revenge because of how the Glazier family did him. And you know what? I can't be mad at him about it. But Bucks ain't gonna let him. We ain't gonna let him win. And Dirk Cutter still has a job with them. Ain't that something? So we got 2 former Buccaneers head coaches. That's gonna man, that game is gonna be something. I'm gonna make sure that I watch that game. Moving on. Jaguars versus the Texans. You know what? I almost feel like the Texans did this shit on purpose. Because as soon as they fired Bill O'Brien, they beat the Jaguars 30-14. And Garner Minshew threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Deshaun Watson threw for over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he threw 3 picks. David Johnson rushed for almost 100 yards. He got 96. And Brandon Cooks had 160 yards receiving, which I think was the most in his freaking career, even with Tom Brady. That's the most per game that he's ever done. The Texans beat the Jaguars 30-14. The Las Vegas Raiders versus the Chiefs. Man, Raiders. I know the Raiders lost that one game. Yeah, they came back with a vengeance and dethroned the Chiefs and dealt them their first loss, 40-32. Derek Carr threw for 340 yards, threw 3 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes threw for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. Man, this was a battle. They had 2 receivers, Henry Ruggs, which was the receiver on the Raiders, and Travis Kelce, who was the tight end for the Chiefs. Both of them had 100 yards received. Josh Jacobs rushed for 2 touchdowns. The Raiders have definitely put themselves on the map right now. I don't know, there's something about that Vegas air, because the year that they got a hockey team, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, you know. But hey, I guess it's just Vegas magic, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, like they that was a very impressive win. Going up 3-0 was really going up 3-0 wasn't enough. It was impressive, but it wasn't enough. This is a statement. Dealing them their first loss, and you can. The stats prove Mahomes wasn't playing with kid gloves. That one says the Raiders are here. They're gonna win that division. Arizona Cardinals versus the New York Jets. In the return of Joe Flacco, who threw for 1 touchdown. Sadly for him, though, the Cardinals ended up beating the Jets 30-10. Found out Wednesday that the Jets have actually released Le'Veon Bell for lack of production. I guess he'll be the next Tampa Bay signing, I guess. DeAndre Hopkins still got his mandatory 130 yards. Kenyon Drake, I don't know what's going on with Kenyon Drake. It's looking like Chase Edmonds is starting to outproduce him, and that's strictly only because of passing. He's the passing back, I guess. Kyler Murray threw for almost 400 yards. He got 380 and 2 touchdowns, but only threw 1 interception. Moving on. Eagles versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Very identical quarterback play between Carson Wentz and Ben Roethlisberger. They both threw for about 250 yards. Wentz had 258. He had 239. Wentz threw for 2 touchdowns. Roethlisberger threw for 3 touchdowns. But Wentz threw 2 interceptions. Who the fuck is Travis Fulgham? I don't know who Travis Fulgham is, but he got 150 yards receiving. Maybe pick him up in fantasy. But yeah, sadly the Steelers beat the Eagles 29-38. Man, I hope they pull it together. Even take out Dallas. The Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys. This was crazy. So, Cowboys ended up beating the Giants 34-37. As I mentioned before in the intro of the video, Dak Prescott got injured. And I'm not even gonna talk about. I'm gonna rush through the stats real quick. Darius Slayton had 129 yards receiving. Devontae Freeman had 60 yards rushing. Zeke rushed for 91 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 128 yards receiving. So it's real fucked up that Dak didn't get a contract, and this could affect his standing. So I'm gonna call it right now. I don't see Dak playing for the Cowboys next year. In fact, I'm pretty sure that he's not. He's pretty much going to be done with them. Like this, I think I said in a previous video. This year, he was playing for a contract. So no, I said that about Aaron Rodgers. But I think Dak was playing to show his value. If not to Jerry Jones, to somebody else. I don't know how. They said 3 to 4 months and shit. The season ain't but 3 to 4 months. You know, even if you threw in the chance if they make the playoffs that, you know, he's not going to be back anytime soon. Take the year off. I guess like do what Peyton did. I have a feeling like Dak is going to go somewhere else and be great. Because best believe they're going to use this as an excuse to not have to pay him. They're going to be like, well, hey, you got hurt. So, yeah, our hands are tied. Sorry, Dak. But hey, we'll see how far they go with Andy Dalton. The LA Rams versus the team formerly known as the Washington Redskins, who finally got a logo. Yeah. The Rams, as you would expect them to, beat Washington 30-10. Jared Goff, proving that he was the former Super Bowl quarterback that he is, threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dwayne Haskins sadly didn't play due to an illness. He was sent home from practice twice. Man, it sounded like he was sent home from school. Miami Dolphins versus the 49ers. Fitzmagic is back, baby. Dolphins beat the 49ers 43-17. Jimmy G is still hurt. So, the Rams are still reeling from those injuries earlier in the season. Fitzmagic was on fire. Threw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, while CJ Bedford did not. Indianapolis Colts versus the Cleveland Browns. And I think this was a bit of a tenet with the score. So the Browns ended up beating the Colts 32-23. And once again, the Indianapolis Colts is proving that they probably should have stuck with Jacoby Brissett. Because Phillip Rivers, while he threw for 243 yards, he didn't throw for any touchdowns, but threw 2 interceptions. Yeah, Baker Mayfield threw for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions. But the Colts have a defense, so assuming what those interceptions were, it might not have been his fault. It might have just been a good defensive play. Sunday night game. Minnesota Vikings versus the Seattle Seahawks. Now this was a very exciting game to watch, to say the least. So the Seahawks was down 13-0 going into the half, but then Russell Wilson came out guns blazing in the second half, in the third quarter, throwing for 2 touchdowns. And a rushing touchdown by Cedric Carson. Minnesota tried to fire back with a touchdown of their own to Adam Thielen, but then Russell put the exclamation stamp on it with a touchdown pass to DK Metcalf. The stats for this game was not impressive. I mean, both quarterbacks threw for 200 yards roughly. It's about average, about what you would expect a quarterback to throw for. Kirk Cousins actually threw for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson, like I said, threw 3 touchdowns. They both got an interception apiece. So Dalvin Cook was injured and Alexander Madison took over. I don't know, was Dalvin Cook gone? Because this guy's got dreads. This guy's rushing for over 100 yards. The Seahawks beat the Vikings 27-26. I think it was a missed field goal that was the difference, or a missed extra point. It was a missed extra point was the difference. Moving on to Monday night, and originally there was a postponed game, but I guess the league was like, "Hold up, New England, I see what the fuck y'all doing. We're not gonna give y'all 2 Monday night games in a row, so we're giving y'all a bye." So the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos were placed on a bye. They was given a bye week. So the Monday night game was San Diego, the LA Chargers versus the New Orleans Saints. And man, it was very entertaining to watch Justin Herbert work. He threw for 264 yards, 4 touchdowns, while Drew Brees was kind of teetering for a bit. But he eventually pulled through with 325 yards. Only threw 1 touchdown and an interception. But Chargers got a defense. So that's to be expected. That's probably just good defensive play. The Chargers, due to injury to Austin Eckler, which also affected my fantasy team, they had to rely on their two running backs, Justin Jackson and the rookie Joshua Kelly. Now, I'm very glad that Justin Jackson finally got a chance to shine. but he's not there yet. He's gonna warm up to that starting role. So maybe he'll do better this week. Keenan Allen was also hurt in this game. So those primary targets went to Mike Williams, who did not disappoint. Over 100 yards receiving. Emmanuel Sanders still filling in for that Michael Thomas role. I believe he should be coming back soon. He had 120 yards receiving. So in a game that literally came down to the fourth quarter, the Saints beat the Chargers 30-27. And for the rare Tuesday night game, so it was the Buffalo Bills versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans had to postpone this game till Tuesday because they had numerous cases of COVID-19, of players testing positive for COVID-19, and within their organization. Adam Humphries, former Buccaneer, sadly was one of them. So when you look at the stats, you would think that it was just a one-sided dominating game. So the Titans ended up beating the Buffalo Bills. The Titans ended up beating the Buffalo Bills 42-16, but this was by no means a landslide victory. Ryan Tannehill only threw for 195 yards, but he threw 3 touchdowns. Josh Allen threw for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he threw 2 interceptions. One of them was really bad. Stephon Diggs continued to get his mandatory 100 yards for the day. Tannehill really lit them up in the fourth quarter. I mean, both of these teams was undefeated coming into this game, and Tennessee ended up dealing Buffalo their first loss. But yeah, it's watching both of these quarterbacks go head to head was very exciting. And last, but most certainly not least, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens beat the Bengals 27-3. Nothing else to say about that. It was clearly on the defense. So that'll do it for this episode of Advanced Sports Talk. My name is Advance, and I'll always continue to be. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. I'm out.